You know that feeling, right? That reflex, where you just grab your phone,
Uh-huh.
even if you literally just put it down, that little urge to just scroll.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Well, it's everywhere now, and it does make you stop and think, like, what is all this actually doing to our brains?
It's a really great question.
Hmm.
And that's exactly what we're digging into today. We've been looking into the psychological side of social media,
Right.
pulling together the research, the facts, to sort of understand what's happening upstairs when we're using these platforms.
Yeah, because whether it's like Instagram or getting sucked into YouTube comments, maybe Facebook, it's just become part of the daily routine for so many people.
Absolutely. It's hard to imagine life without it for a lot of us.
Totally. A quick check-in, at least.
Exactly. And look, our goal here isn't to, bash social media or say everyone should just delete their accounts.
No, not at all.
It's more about understanding the core psychological effects. The good, the bad, just getting a clearer picture of what's going on when you log in.
Kind of like getting a bit more aware of our own habits.
Precisely. Giving you some insights, basically.
Okay, let's get into it. One of the first big things that jumped out from the material was this dopamine effect. Sounds kind of sciencey, but it seems really central.
It really is.
Hmm.
So dopamine, it's a neurotransmitter. Think of it as the brain's reward chemical.
Okay.
It gets released when we do something pleasurable, something rewarding, and on social media. That often means getting likes, comments, shares, those little bits of positive feedback.
Ah, the notifications, those little pings and badges, like a
Yeah.
tiny digital well done.
Exactly like that. So every time one pops up, your brain goes, ooh, reward,
Yeah.
and releases a little bit of dopamine.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and what's really interesting that the research points to is that unpredictable rewards, they can actually cause a bigger dopamine spike than predictable ones.
Unpredictable. How so?
Well, you don't know when the next like or comment is coming, right?
Yeah.
That uncertainty, that anticipation,
Uh,
that actually keeps you checking. It makes the potential reward feel more exciting, driving that habitual behavior. Keep going back for that, maybe.
so that constant checking loop. Our sources suggest it's not just like a minor habit. It can actually build up into a kind of dependence.
Well, yeah, the brain starts to associate checking the phone with that potential dopamine hit.
And that affects other things like focus.
Absolutely. It can impact attention, productivity.
Mm.
Your brain might start prioritizing those quick, easy rewards over tasks that need, sustained effort.
Right, because the notification feels more immediately rewarding than, say, working on a report.
Precisely. That constant hunt for novelty, for the instant hit, it can subtly rewire how we focus, making deeper concentration feel, well, harder.
Okay, yeah, that's definitely food for thought. Now, another big theme was social comparison, the trap of it.
Hmm, big one.
We all kind of do it, don't we? Scrolling through, seeing someone's amazing holiday photos or their, latest big success.
Yeah, and the thing is, social media platforms often show us these very curated versions of life, right?
Totally, the highlight reel.
Exactly.
Mhm.
People post their best moments, the polished images, the story they want people to see, not usually the messy bits or the boring Tuesday nights.
Right. You don't often see the laundry pile or the burnt toast.
Precisely. So it's almost natural that we start comparing our own lives, the full, sometimes messy reality to these, well, edited highlights.
And that's where the trouble starts.
It can, yeah. This kind of comparison, especially the call upward comparison, where you compare yourself to someone seemingly better off,
Uh-huh.
it can really trigger feelings of inferiority, maybe anxiety, even depression sometimes.
Yeah.
The research shows comparing to these ideal versions, often filtered and tweaked,
Yeah.
it hits self-esteem much harder than comparing to, say, more everyday relatable stuff. And our sources really stress this is a big issue, particularly for teens and young adults.
That makes complete sense. You see perfection everywhere online, and it's easy to feel like you're somehow not measuring up.
Absolutely. And the psychological fact is that constant comparison can lower self-esteem and fuel those negative feelings. It's vital to remember it's not the full story we're seeing.
Definitely something to keep in mind. Okay, shifting gears a bit. Sleep. Or rather, the lack of it.
Ah, yes. The late night scroll.
Guilty. That just 5 more minutes thing.
Yeah.
It happens, doesn't it?
It really does. And late night social media use hits our sleep in a couple of ways. First, the content itself can be, stimulating. News, arguments, even just exciting videos. It ramps up the brain when it should be winding down.
Okay, that makes sense.
But maybe even more impactful is the blue light from the screens. phones, tablets, laptops.
Right, the famous blue light. Heard about that. What does it actually do?
Well, blue light signals to our brain that it's still daytime. Specifically, it suppresses the production of melatonin.
Melatonin, that's the sleep hormone, right?
Exactly. So less melatonin means your body isn't getting the signal that it's time to sleep. It makes it harder to fall asleep, and it can disrupt your sleep quality through the night.
Wow. So it's not just stealing time, it's actively messing with our biology.
Pretty much. And the knock-on effects, as our sources detail, are fatigue, more stress, irritability,
Mm-hmm.
you know, feeling after a bad night's sleep,
Oh, yeah.
and psychologically. Sleep deprivation just makes everything harder. It cranks up stress, makes you more irritable, and really tanks your ability to concentrate. It's a bit of a vicious cycle.
Definitely. Okay, what about attention spans? Feels like mine's got shorter. Is social media playing a role there?
The evidence suggests yes. Think about how most platforms are designed.
Fast. Lots of different things.
Exactly. A constant stream of new stuff. Short videos, quick posts, images flashing by. Your brain gets used to that rapid switching, that constant novelty.
So it's like training our brains for distraction.
In a way, yes. It gets accustomed to that fast pace and those quick hits of information. So then when you need to focus on something longer, like reading a book or deep work,
It feels harder, more boring.
it can, yeah. Your brain is sort of wired for the next shiny thing. That ability to sustain focus can erode over time.
Okay, here's something that feels a bit contradictory. Social media is meant to connect us, right?
That's the idea, yeah.
But our sources actually linked heavier use with feeling more lonely. How does that work?
It's a really interesting paradox. Yes, it can help us stay in touch, connect with people far away, find communities. Those are real benefits.
That's
But
it.
the quality of online interaction often isn't the same as face-to-face connection.
Right. A like isn't really a hug or a proper chat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the research suggests that if you rely too heavily on these online interactions, maybe even letting them replace deeper real-world relationships,
Uh-huh.
it can actually lead to increased feelings of loneliness, anxiety, and depression. You might have hundreds of friends online, but still feel isolated if those deeper, supportive offline connections aren't there.
So it's like quantity over quality, potentially.
Kind of. It might feel like connection, but it might not provide that same deep emotional fulfillment. So, yeah, excessive use can paradoxically increase loneliness.
Wow. Okay. Then there's FOMO, fear of missing out.
Ah, yes.
Pretty common, I think. Seeing posts of friends at a party you weren't invited to, or everyone raving about some event.
It's a very real thing, amplified by social media, because you see a constant feed of what others are doing, often looking like they're having the absolute best time.
Yeah, the highlight reel again.
Exactly. And seeing all that can definitely trigger that anxiety, that feeling of being left out or behind.
And our sources say this isn't just a fleeting annoyance. It can actually cause stress.
It absolutely can. That constant awareness of what you might be missing out on creates pressure. Pressure to keep up, to be everywhere, to know everything.
Mhm.
It can lead to chronic stress and just feeling dissatisfied with your own life.
Ugh. Okay. What about just the sheer amount of stuff online? Information overload.
Yes, that's another huge factor. Think about the sheer volume. Millions, billions of posts, updates, news articles, opinions, videos, every single day.
It's like drinking from a fire hose.
Totally. Our brains just aren't really built to process that constant, overwhelming flow of information effectively.
And the sources said this leads to, like, mental fatigue.
Mental fatigue, yeah. Difficulty processing things properly, maybe even weaker decision-making. Your cognitive resources just get completely stretched thin trying to filter and manage it all.
Like your brain's RAM is just constantly full.
That's a good analogy. And the psychological fact is that this cognitive burden, this overload, directly contributes to stress and feeling mentally off balance. We need downtime to process, and social media often takes that away.
Yeah, that makes sense. And sadly, not all that information is, positive or neutral. There's a lot of negativity out there too.
That's a crucial point. Negative news, arguments, sometimes violent or disturbing content.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately quite prevalent.
And just seeing that constantly, it takes a toll.
Definitely. Our sources are clear. Constant exposure to negativity significantly impacts mental well-being. It ramps up anxiety, increases stress.
Feels like it puts you on edge all the time.
It can. There's even this concept called vicarious stress.
Vicarious stress.
Yeah, where you feel stressed just by witnessing the suffering or distress of others, even if it's just through a screen. Constantly seeing bad news or online conflict can actually put your own brain into a kind of chronic stress state.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered a lot of the potential downsides, but it can't all be bad, surely. Our sources did mention upsides too, right?
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely not all doom and gloom.
Yeah.
Social media has real positives. Connection is a big one we touched on.
Right, keeping up with distant friends, family.
Exactly. And finding communities. People with shared interests, hobbies, maybe facing similar life challenges. They can find incredible support online, sometimes support they can't find offline.
That's very true. I've seen that happen. What else?
Well, information and education. It could be a fantastic resource for learning, access to news, different perspectives, tutorials, educational content. It's all there,
Yeah, you can learn almost anything on YouTube, for instance.
pretty much. And then there's self-expression, creativity.
Ah, yeah. Sharing photos, art, writing, videos.
It gives people a platform to share their voice, their talents, their ideas, to build an identity, connect with others through their creativity. That could be really empowering.
Definitely right.
And finally, awareness and activism. Social media is powerful for raising awareness about important issues, social justice, political causes.
Organizing things, circulating petitions.
Exactly. It can mobilize people, amplify voices that might not otherwise be heard. It's become a major tool for change. So yes, lots of positives when used well. Positive content and supportive communities can genuinely boost well-being.
So it really boils down to how we use it then, finding a balance.
That seems to be the key takeaway. Mindfulness is crucial.
And the sources had some practical tips for that, right? For finding that balance.
They did. Setting time limits is a really basic but effective one. Actually deciding, okay, I'm only spending X amount of time on this app today.
Using those screen time tools on your phone, maybe.
Exactly. Another big one is curating your feed. Be intentional about who you follow.
Unfollow accounts that make you feel bad.
Yes. And actively seek out accounts that are positive, inspiring, or genuinely informative. Make your feed a place you actually want to be, mentally speaking.
That's smart. And cutting down before bed? The blue light thing?
Definitely. Try to put the phone away an hour or two before sleep. Read a book, listen to music, whatever helps you wind down. Using night mode, if you must look at your phone, can help a bit with the blue light too.
Okay. What else?
Prioritizing real-life relationships.
Yeah.
That's huge. Making actual time for face-to-face connection. Nurturing those offline bonds.
Yeah, putting the phone down when you're actually with people.
Precisely. And finally, digital detoxes. Taking intentional breaks.
Like a whole day off or a weekend.
Could be anything. A few hours, an evening, a whole day, a weekend. Whatever feels right. Just stepping away completely to give your brain a rest and reconnect with the physical world.
Okay, so lots of strategies there. It feels like the big picture is social media is this incredibly powerful thing.
Powerful tool.
Yeah, a tool with real benefits, but also real risks for our minds.
Yeah.
And it's on us to find that sweet spot, that balance.
Exactly. It starts with awareness.
Yeah.
Just noticing your habits, noticing how scrolling makes you feel. That's the first vital step to using it more intentionally.
And remembering to invest in the real world, those real connections.
Absolutely. Which kind of leads to a final thought for you, the listener, to maybe reflect on.
Okay.
Think about those dopamine hits we talked about. When you reach for your phone, which of those little rewards are genuinely adding value to your life, making you feel good in a lasting way? And which ones are maybe just keeping you hooked, keeping you in that loop? What's one small change, just one little intentional shift you could try this week to be more mindful about your use and maybe reclaim a little bit of that mental space?